Raceway, round 5 of the Fujitsu Big 8 Supercar Series. Cars on the warm-up lap now for race 2, the top 10 inverted. But let's have a look at this track, Damien. 3.1 kilometres, it's 10 years old, and it's bumpier than a motocross track.
Turns 1 and 3, we always talk about the bumps there. The bit that is significant that is not talked about so much is turn 4, 5, the double left, lots of over and under and switchback passing moves going on through there.
The left rear tyre does a lot of work around this racetrack with so many right-hand corners, but Sam Walter will line up on the front row alongside Rodney Jane, who actually made a mistake and hit the pit lane speed limiter in race 1, dropped himself some spots, but starts on the front row.
And from grid 10, won't that be exciting to watch? Jonathan Webb, who has been a rocket all weekend, rounding out the field. Mark Howard making a welcome return, and Colin Corkery after an ordinary race 1.
It's been nearly 2 years since Mark Howard ran in the Fujitsu Series. He holds the record, actually, for the most starts as we celebrate the 10th running of this championship. Race 2 is always an interesting one. It really does mix up the field. Rodney Jane on the front row for the first time in his time in the Fujitsu Series, but again, as usual, Grant Denyer makes a stormer.
What an absolute cracker. Denyer is a genius off the line, and James Moffat in the dirt sideways.
Moffat's not afraid to attack and make up ground in the early couple of corners of these reverse grid races. Sam Walter is second, and Moffat grabs another spot. That's fourth, and he goes by Daniel Gaunt.
Well, he knows he can't muck around.
You got the right page.
Listen to the voices on the radio. If I was a driver, I'd be like, shut up, crew chief, leave me alone. Look at them, 4 wide into turn 3.
Webb down the outside, the rest of them are bottled up. Look how deep they go on cold tyres. And that's a good move because it puts Webb on the inside for turn 4.
And the corners I mentioned before, 4 and 5 are a great opportunity to pass. You see Reindler on the inside and Moffat down the outside. Brad Lowe, big time under brakes.
And Brad Lowe's been given strict instructions to look after this X-Ford Performance Racing car. The two teammates, oh, this is very, very tight at turn 5. And that's Gene Rollinson dropping off the road. But with Brad Lowe, this is the car that they will use in the endurance races.
Matthew White, I feel sorry for him. He's probably on the radio now trying to talk to both of them. Guys, your teammates, get together.
Daniel Gaunt, the Mad Butcher Falcon, has been told by team manager Andy McElray that he wasn't aggressive enough in race 1. Well, with the reverse grid format of race 2, sometimes you have to temper that aggression.
Oh, it's a tough thing in your rookie season. It's nice to think that you're a young charger and you can show aggression, but at the same time you have to realise it's a whole championship, and he's probably just playing the game of trying to accumulate some points.
Jeff Emery spinning around in the background on the exit of turn 2.
Absolute mayhem still as we're into the second lap of the race, and still as they're going into turn 3. There's 3 or 4 wide. Brad Lowe's got the brake locked up. The pressure from his teammate Jonathan Webb, who's a little bit sideways, trying to squeeze the power down.
Let's have a look at the replay of the start, and Denyer, as usual, makes a brilliant getaway down the outside, and hanging off the rear wing, you'll see that he gets across to the inside to cover Sam Walter.
And you could just hear the drive and the slip of the clutch as he took off the line. It was supreme, perfect.
This is down at turn 4. Shane Price on the inside of Rodney Jane in this hectic opening lap, and then Leanne Tander getting involved with Gene Rollinson, and it looked like the Kiwi didn't give Leanne enough room.
Well, here's another shot. Rollinson down the inside of Tander. He lets it run wide off the exit of 4, not realising that he hasn't cleared Tander. For mine, Gene Rollinson should have given Leanne a little bit more room.
This is down on the exit of turn 2, or running into. That's how Jeff Emery went around. Damien Assailant out through the dirt, but Denyer is getting away. James Moffat is closing in on Sam Walter, and Moffat actually really was surprised to be on the front row of the grid for race 1 because they've struggled with the balance of this car, which is interesting because it's an ex-Craig Lowndes team Vodafone car that used to test here all the time.
You would think that the data and the setup sheets available to them would give them all the information they need. But of course, with the fluctuating temperature and the track temperature changing, the car setup needs to change with it.
Grant Denyer becoming something of an expert in getting to the front in the reverse grid races. Webb and David Russell on the charge. They both squeeze on by the young Kiwi Daniel Gaunt.
How hot is it there? The 2 main championship contenders and the young gun who's behind, and he doesn't care about their championship. He wants to win races.
Gaunt will be paired with his countryman John McIntyre for Stone Brothers Racing at the endurance events. And Gaunt actually lives with Shane Van Gisbergen, so he doesn't have to look far in terms of advice.
And if Shane's given him any...
Oh!
I was just about to say, if Shane's given him any sort of influence, Shane is an aggressive driver. He's Mr. Entertainment, but that was just an absolute balls up from Daniel Gaunt. No chance he was going to pull that up. And for the championship and David Russell, that is massively damaging.
Have a look again. Gaunt comes from a long way back. Didn't lock it up, but just was no chance there. And David Russell came into this race with a 16-point margin over Jonathan Webb. I think that's gone.
And now a change for second position. Clean move, slight lock-up, you can see.
Ran it wide, and Walter gets back through.
Smart driving by Moffat, though. You saw the inside front wheel. He locked, but he just lifted off the brake pedal to unlock that wheel so as to not damage the tyre.
Norton 360 getting back on board with James Moffat for this weekend and the remaining rounds at Mount Panorama and also at Homebush for the Sydney Telstra 500. Third in the championship, Sam Walter, not a championship contender, but having one of his best ever runs in the series.
Well, let's face it, as he's just made a mistake there and had a slight lock-up, but James Moffat, a really good, genuine gun in this field, passed him. Walter kept his calm, got him on the exit, but look at these teammates, still not finished. Webb crossing over so as Lowe has not got the inside run into turn one.
Lowe has a look, and you can see the bumps there on the braking area at turn one. Webb a little bit sideways.
And I'll tell you what, as you run through that corner in fourth gear and you're stepping the back out a little bit sideways like that, you look at the cars there, rocking side to side. The bumps at this track no longer is the focus at turn 1 and 3, it's mid-corner.
Craig Lowndes watching on. Here's a replay down at turn 4. Jeff Emery getting into the back of Damien Assaylet, the Fujitsu Falcon. Got another one on the way through, and Taz Douglas grabbed the spot now. That's put the rear bumper down onto the tyre.
By Jeff Emery's standards, that was the most aggressive thing I've seen him do. The rear bar of that car is destroyed.
Back to the front, and Denya just coming back into the clutches of the Tasmanian Sam Walter. Greg Murphy Racing are without their regular team manager, Dean Lilly, this weekend. But that doesn't seem to be slowing Walter.
It looked to me like Grant Denyer, when he tipped it into turn 2, he's really struggling for front-end grip as James Moffat tries to sneak down the outside of Walter. So Grant Denyer being a bit clever here, being very patient, doesn't want to burn up the rear tyres, very gentle on the power down.
Denyer was a race winner here at Queensland Raceway last year in the reverse grid second race as Moffat puts his nose down the inside. Walter gives him plenty of racing room. And Jonathan Webb's closing in, but there's not enough room there. And Moffat goes off the road.
I said it at the opener. Turn 4 and 5 creates a lot of action, and that looked like an instant replay of Rowlandson and Tander on the opening lap.
So now Carl Reindler is on Sam Walter. Jonathan Webb has jumped through to second. And with David Russell, that's Greg Wheeler, race engineer for Grant Denyer. So with Russell buried in the pack, this will give Webb, if they finish as they are, the championship lead.
But how's the run for Webb? I mean, Gaunt takes Russell out. Moffat has it coming together with Walter. He's gone. There's 2 critical positions for Jonathan Webb in this race, and he is now on the hunt for Grant Denyer.
Carl Reindler there in the Wilson Security Falcon, being run by McElrea Racing. This is the car that Jason Bright ran earlier in the year, a former James Courtney Stone Brothers Falcon. This is Moffat trying to get back through the field, but Colin Corkery and Leanne Tander are having their own fight.
And it's a big lunge up for Corkery under brakes, and you just saw the rear tyres. There was a bit of a lock-up. I don't know if that was a compression lock-up. I know that Corkery had problems with his gearbox earlier in the weekend.
That's a compression into the sand. He's going nowhere.
And Assaylet's going nowhere either. You see there, he's in the pit lane, not allowed back on the track until that rear bumper is removed.
And that brings the safety car out, but it's not come out in time to pick up the race leader, Grant Denyer.
Picking up, on the circuit, safety car, straight onto the circuit. Pick up the first car you can.
Straight on the circuit. Well, that wasn't quite how it all worked.
It's a very frantic sounding Paul Taylor there as we look at the replay. James Moffat exits turn 5 and leans across the front of Walter's car. Walter had no choice. He had no track left.
No case to answer there. That was simply a case of Moffat thinking he was clear. He was busy getting the car driving off turn 4.
And he ended up driving it into the dirt because he didn't give himself or Sam Walter enough room. But looking at the replay here, Corkery, massive under brakes. Watch the rear tyres. You can just see it locking as the back of the car skips over the bumps.
And there's a nasty little bump on the inside as the cars take the speed away for turn 3.
And watch on this replay, watch the car bang, bang over those bumps. That there is a perfect vision of why the rears have locked up over those bumps.
We'll get a restart when we come back. Time to get restarted in race 2 of the Fujitsu V8 Supercars at Queensland Raceway. It's a short, sharp sprint to the checkered flag. The main series teams are on the pit wall looking on as Grant Denyer leads us back to the control line.
Well, when you've got a safety car restart, and look, David Russell on the inside of Jane, great move, but when you've got a restart with only a few laps to go, the field is bunched up, the pressure's on Grant Denyer, the pressure's on Jonathan Webb, the pressure runs through the field.
And Denyer doesn't have the pace because Webb has got the run on the exit of turn 2, the man who won race 1 and took pole position. And Denyer plays it defensive.
As he's allowed to do. There's only 2 laps to go. Hell, if I was in the lead, I'd defend it too, but Jonathan Webb, who now has to deal with Sam Walter,
Just keep it in the middle of the road.
he's out of mind. He can hear the instruction to Denyer, keep it in the middle of the road.
I don't reckon Grant needs to be told. He's got the elbows out, but Webb's going to lunge at turn 4. He just locks it up, and he carries Grant wide, so Sam Walter will pounce and take the race lead.
Grant Denyer, they call him the mad dog. I reckon you could probably hear him screaming over the engine.
Brad Lowe's through as well, so Denyer has been shuffled back to 5th. Walter, though, locks it up and hands it to Webb on a plate.
Unbelievable. You saw Webb lock the inside front going into 4. Walter's not finished with him yet. Look at him trying to lean into him down the straight.
2 laps to go, and Webb has got his way to the front. He started 10th on the grid, and Carl Reindler is still a factor.
I can't believe that Grant Denyer, in a matter of 2 turns, has gone from the lead back to 5th position.
This is critical. The run off turn 2 determines your speed all the way down to turn 3. Will Webb cover, or is he strong enough under brakes?
He's given himself a nice open entry into the corner, but he's rushed in a little bit of mid-corner understeer. It's pushed wide.
Webb, Walter, Reindler, Brad Lowe, then it's Denyer. Shane Price is in 6th spot. And Brad Lowe coming from a long way back on Reindler. Great move.
That was a monster move. Reindler was obviously very aware, gave him plenty of room. Job done. Brad Lowe, great move.
He's made some mistakes this year, but he's learning about how it works in the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series. His teammate Jonathan Webb is off turn 6. 1 to go this time by.
Looks like it's job almost done at the front. It was frantic there for a while, but that move on Denyer from Jonathan Webb, have we heard the last of that? That was pretty aggressive.
Denyer won't be happy. He's back to 5th. This is Carl Reindler getting ready to return to V8s later in the year with Jason Bright in the Fujitsu Falcon at Phillip Island and Bathurst, and was very strong in this weekend's Friday practice in the main series car.
Very, very impressive in that Fujitsu car, and I'm really looking forward. He did a great job last year with Michael Patrizzi, called up late to do Bathurst, did a great job. But James Moffat, we see back there, pressuring David Russell, who has made a brilliant comeback in this race after being in the sand trap mid-race distance.
And this has been a pivotal race in terms of the overall championship, because you've got Russell and Moffat here buried in the pack, and their rival Jonathan Webb has just 1 corner after this one for a win.
Not only that, he did it in race 1 by winning and fastest lap. He has set the fastest lap in race 2 also, and looks like he will take race number 2.
We've been getting stuck into him all year about winning and running at the front of the championship without winning races. Well, he's going to answer the call again in race 2. Jonathan Webb for MW Motorsport takes 2 from 2 at QR.
Fantastic effort from Jonathan Webb with Grant Denyer. There's the team of Webb. His dad, Stephen, looking calm as ever.
His fiancée, Kobe, there as well. And this is a great confidence boost, and it moves him now into the championship lead. Walter and Lowe, the top 3. Denyer in 5th, and Daniel Gaunt rounded out the top 10.
Well, Denyer obviously was the big loser in that race, Aaron, and you can see him there. He's really fired up. He, in fact, is going straight over to Jonathan Webb. He's angry, and I understand that, but at the same time, he gained a position in the previous race on Carl Reindler with a similar tactic. I don't know, but you just got to be careful about what you get fired up about.
I got webinated. You know, I kind of like the reverse grid. I'm not qualifying well, so I'm sort of running at the front for the second race normally, and man, it was another cracker of a start. It was fantastic, and I was sitting there quite comfortably, no worries, and saw Webb there on the restart, and you know, he made a bit of a goose dive bomb attack, and it was all locked up, and he slammed it in my door and pushed me off, and I lost sort of 4 or 5 spots. So, you know, I don't mind being passed, no worries, but it can't be the consequence of 4 or 5 spots of the bloke being passed. That's just a bit uncool.
And that wasn't the only incident in race 2. Daniel Gaunt making a mistake under brakes at turn 6, and David Russell, as a result, has lost the series lead.
I had a couple of car length gap actually, so I didn't even bother sort of blocking the line or anything because we didn't need to. And mid corner, he's must have fired in a little bit too hard, and he's just turned me around. So the good part is we're on the front row for the last race. The disappointing part is I've just lost a bag full of points to Jonathan Webb, and now he's leading the championship, and through no fault of my own.
After the break, we take a look at the relationship between driver and engineer, and the cars line up for the deciding race 3.